"Don't touch it!" shouted the woman who owned skyscrapers at the poor mechanic in the garage. Her fingers tightened on his wrist so sharply the wrench clattered on the concrete. She leaned closer, the scent of her perfume cutting through the heavy smell of gasoline. "I didn't come for repairs. I need your help. If anyone finds out, I'll lose everything." Her voice cracked between authority and despair. He froze. What could a woman of her level be hiding? And why did her request sound like it wasn't only about a machine? Her phone kept buzzing, but she muted it, as if every ring could expose them. "They must not know I'm here," she whispered, her eyes firm yet betraying a flicker of fear. He sensed a war she was fighting against her own. "Why me?" he blurted out. Her grip tightened. "Because only you can endure what others won't even dare to try," she replied. The silence pressed harder than the noise of engines. He felt the weight of her hand, the tremor of something unspoken between them. Outside, car horns wailed, but in the small garage the world shrank to their locked gaze. She slid a folded envelope onto the greasy workbench, half hidden under an oily rag. "Read it later." "Not now." Her tone was sharp, urgent, yet her eyes lingered on him a second too long. He didn't move. His hands were still dirty, his shirt stained, and she, immaculate, powerful, yet trembling. He wanted to ask, but her sudden step back stopped him. "No questions. Just do what I ask." Her voice carried both command and plea. He caught a glimpse of something metallic in her bag, then she shoved it deeper out of sight. The fluorescent light above flickered, casting shadows over the two of them. He felt caught in something he hadn't chosen. "You're risking too much," he muttered. She answered instantly, "Not compared to what I already lost." For a moment, it wasn't the CEO and the mechanic. It was simply two people, bound by a moment they couldn't explain. And still, he didn't know if she was saving him, or dragging him into something he would never escape. He stared at the envelope, his heartbeat pounding louder than the ticking clock on the wall. Her words echoed, "No questions. Just do what I ask." He had spent his whole life fixing what others broke, cars, tools, sometimes his own dreams, but this felt different. This was no engine he could repair with grease and patience. This was her world colliding with his, and he had to decide whether to walk away or step inside it. Slowly, he wiped his hands on his rag and pulled the envelope toward him. "If I open this, there's no turning back," he said quietly, not sure if he was warning her or himself. Her eyes locked onto his. "Then don't open it here," she snapped, softer than anger but sharper than fear. The buzzing phone on her bag vibrated again, this time with a name flashing on the screen before she could hide it. He caught only a glimpse, board chairman. His stomach tightened. Whoever was calling wasn't just persistent, they were powerful. She shoved the phone face down, but her hand trembled. "Time's running out," she whispered. "Decide." He grabbed the envelope, stuffing it into his jacket, and stood tall for the first time, no longer just the mechanic waiting for orders. "Then I'm in. Whatever this is, I'm in." For a moment, something flickered in her eyes, relief, maybe gratitude, or something far more dangerous. But before she could speak, a blinding glare swept across the garage. Headlights. A car screeched to a halt outside, doors slamming in the night. Her face went pale. "Not them, not now." She reached for his arm, urgent. "You need to choose, right here, hide me, or stand with me." Boots hit the gravel outside, voices barking orders, closing in. He froze between instinct and chaos. If he hid her, he risked everything. If he stood by her, he'd be dragged into a storm he didn't even understand. The garage door rattled violently, once, twice. Then a man's voice thundered from outside, "Open up. We know she's in there." He turned to her, breath caught in his throat. She didn't move, only whispered, "Your choice will decide both our lives." And then the lock on the door snapped. The garage door shuddered under the force, and instinct surged through him. Without thinking, he yanked her toward the back, past the stacked tires and tool racks, toward a narrow service door. "Move," he hissed, his grip firm now, no longer passive. For once, he wasn't fixing, he was protecting. But before they could escape, the front lock snapped open and heavy boots stormed in. Two men in tailored suits, not mechanics, not customers. Their eyes scanned the shadows like predators. One barked, "Check the back. She can't leave." She pressed against the wall, whispering, "If they find me, it's over, for me and for you." Her perfume clung to the air, oddly defiant in the stench of oil and rubber. He clenched his jaw. He had no plan, only seconds. He shoved open the service door, light spilling from the alley. But just as they stepped out, a figure appeared in the darkness, a young man in a leather jacket, face bruised, eyes burning with something between loyalty and betrayal. He looked straight at her. "You shouldn't have come here." Her breath caught. "Not you," she whispered, voice breaking for the first time. He glanced at the mechanic, sizing him up, then sneered. "So this is the man you trust? Pathetic." The mechanic straightened, fists tight. "Who the hell are you?" The stranger smirked. "Her shadow. The one who cleans up what she pretends never happened." His words dripped with venom. The suited men inside were already calling, footsteps echoing. The stranger stepped closer, lowering his voice. "You think she needs saving? She's been saving herself by sacrificing people like you. Don't be the next." He didn't know whether to hit the man, drag her away, or demand answers she refused to give. Her silence cut deeper than his threats. She finally said, "We don't have time. Choose who you believe, me, or him." The mechanic's pulse thundered. Both options felt like traps, both paths tangled with lies. Behind them, the garage men slammed doors, closing the exit. Ahead, the stranger's eyes glowed with dangerous certainty. And then the sound of sirens wailed from the street, growing louder, closer. The sirens grew closer, bouncing off the concrete walls of the alley. The mechanic gritted his teeth. He couldn't let them be trapped between the suits behind and the stranger ahead. With a sudden burst, he shoved the stranger back, slamming him against the brick wall. "We're leaving," he snapped, dragging her forward. The stranger laughed, even pinned. "You think you're saving her? She's the reason the sirens are coming. She called them, or someone did it for her." Her face twisted, not with denial, but with something sharper, pain, maybe guilt. "It's not what you think," she whispered, but her words carried no weight against the storm of suspicion. The mechanic pushed her toward the shadows, ducking behind a dumpster as two squad cars screeched to a halt at the mouth of the alley. Uniformed officers spilled out, shouting orders, weapons drawn. The suited men inside the garage disappeared in an instant, melting into the chaos. That was their first victory. They slipped unseen into the dark corner while the attention shifted. But it wasn't enough. One officer shouted her name, clear and unmistakable. His heart froze. They weren't here for random criminals, they were here for her. She clenched his arm, nails digging through his sleeve. "Don't let them take me. If they do, everything ends." Her words rattled him. What was everything? A company? A deal? A secret bigger than both of them? The stranger, still catching his breath, smirked through the shadows. "Ask her what she signed. Ask her who she left behind. She won't tell you, because the truth will burn you alive." The mechanic's pulse hammered. He wanted answers, but the time to ask had vanished. Officers spread out, flashlights sweeping the alley, the sound of radios crackling with her name. He grabbed her hand tighter, pulling her deeper into the maze of backstreets. Her heels stumbled on broken pavement, yet she never let go. For a moment, it felt like defiance, like they were fighting together against an entire city. But just as they turned the corner, a spotlight hit them, harsh, blinding. A commanding voice thundered, "Freeze! Step away from her." The mechanic squinted into the light. The figure wasn't a cop. It was someone else entirely, someone who knew both of their names. The blinding light cut through the night, freezing them in place. The mechanic shielded his eyes, but the voice was unmistakably human, authoritative, not a cop's bark but something colder. "Step away from her. Now." He planted his feet, refusing. "If you know my name, then you know I don't back down." His voice shook, but the resolve was real. The woman's grip on his arm trembled, as if she feared what might happen more than the men in suits or the police closing in. The figure stepped forward, revealing a tall man in a dark coat, his face half hidden but his tone dripping with familiarity. "You don't understand what she's dragged you into. Walk away while you still can." The mechanic's jaw tightened. Walk away, that's what he had done all his life, every time opportunity knocked and fear answered. But not now. Not with her standing beside him, desperate, fragile under the weight of her power. "I won't," he said. The stranger sighed, almost pitying him, then nodded to someone behind. Two more figures emerged, blocking the street ahead. They weren't cops, not corporate suits either, something in between, professional, silent. The trap had closed. She leaned to his ear, her whisper sharp as glass. "We can't let them take the envelope. No matter what happens, you keep it safe." His heart lurched. The envelope he hadn't dared to open now felt like dynamite strapped to his chest. One of the men advanced, hand reaching out. The mechanic's fists clenched. He had no training, no plan, but he had one thing left: courage. He swung, landing a punch that shocked even him, sending the man stumbling back. It bought them seconds, nothing more, but seconds mattered. "Run!" she shouted, and together they bolted down the narrow lane, dodging trash cans and broken glass, her heels clattering like gunfire against the pavement. He pulled her faster, lungs burning, legs screaming. Every turn felt like a dead end. Behind them, footsteps thundered, gaining ground. He wanted to quit, to let exhaustion take him, but the sound of her breath, ragged yet determined, kept him moving. She wasn't the untouchable CEO now, she was a woman fighting for survival, and somehow depending on him. They burst into a wider street, neon lights flickering from a closed diner. For a heartbeat it felt like escape, but then headlights cut across them, another car blocking the way. The doors opened. And this time, the person stepping out wasn't a stranger. It was someone he recognized, someone from his world. The mechanic skidded to a stop as the car door opened. His chest heaved, sweat mixing with grease on his skin. And then he froze. The face stepping out wasn't a stranger. It was Tommy, a kid he'd once worked with at the shop years ago, the one who'd vanished without a word. "Tommy?" His voice cracked with disbelief. The younger man smirked bitterly. "Didn't expect me, did you? She always picks the ones who don't know what they're carrying." His eyes flicked to the woman. "You never told him, did you?" Her silence was louder than the sirens still echoing in the distance. The mechanic's heart pounded. "Told me what?" he demanded, voice raw. Tommy stepped closer, hands raised like he didn't want to fight. "He deserves the truth. The envelope, what's inside, it's not just paper. It's what ruined me. And now it's his turn." The mechanic felt the envelope burning against his chest, heavier with every word. "Then say it," he barked. "Say what's inside." The woman's voice cut sharp, "Don't." Her eyes locked onto Tommy, steel and warning. "If you speak now, they'll kill us all before we take another step." For a moment, time seemed suspended, the three of them locked in a triangle of secrets. The mechanic's legs trembled, his lungs clawed for air, he had been running on fumes, and now doubt drained what little strength was left. Yet his fists clenched tighter. I'm not walking blind anymore. Either I know, or I walk away. Tommy's jaw tightened, torn between defiance and fear. Finally, he said, it's not about her company. It's about. A gunshot split the air. The bullet ricocheted off metal, sparks flying. The mechanic dropped, dragging her down with him, instinct saving them both. Tommy staggered, ducking behind the car. Shadows moved on the rooftops, unseen snipers watching. She grabbed the mechanic's face, forcing his eyes back to hers. Not here. Not now. If you want to live, you have to trust me. Her breath was ragged, her hands trembling against his skin. He wanted to scream, to demand answers, but another shot cracked the pavement inches from his arm. He dragged her toward cover, every muscle screaming in pain. He was running out of strength, but not out of fight. Somewhere above, a voice rang through the night, amplified through a megaphone, hand over the envelope, or none of you leave this street alive. The mechanic's arms shook as he dragged her behind the diner's dumpster, bullets sparking off metal around them. His chest burned, each breath like fire. He could barely stand, but he refused to let go of her hand. Tommy crouched nearby, shouting over the chaos. They won't stop. Give them the envelope. His voice was desperate, but there was something else in it too, a crack, like fear mixed with guilt. The mechanic's grip tightened on his jacket where the envelope was hidden. You think I'll hand it over? After everything? Tommy's eyes hardened. Then you'll die for nothing. Before the mechanic could react, Tommy lunged forward, ripping at his jacket. The struggle was brutal, fast, grease-stained fists colliding with knuckles hardened by street fights. The mechanic landed a blow, but exhaustion dulled his strength. In one violent tug, Tommy tore the envelope free. No, the mechanic roared, lunging after him, but a sniper shot cracked the asphalt between them, forcing him back. Tommy raised the envelope above his head like a trophy. This is mine now. You'll thank me when you realize what she's done to you. The betrayal hit harder than the punches. He collapsed against the wall, chest heaving, vision blurring. For a moment, despair swallowed him whole. He'd failed before he even understood what he was fighting for. But then, through the smoke and chaos, the woman's hand found his. Her voice, hoarse but steady, cut through the noise. You're stronger than this. He can't outrun them all. If he delivers it, they'll destroy everything. You're the only one who can stop it. Her words sparked something, a fragile ember in the ashes of defeat. He forced himself back to his knees, blood dripping from his lip, eyes locked on Tommy sprinting toward the waiting car. The screech of tires split the night as the car engine roared to life. The mechanic stumbled forward, each step agony but fueled by stubborn fire. I won't let it end here, he muttered. Then headlights exploded into view, not the car Tommy ran for, but another vehicle cutting across the street. Its door flung open, and a voice bellowed from inside. Get in, now. The mechanic froze, torn. The driver was a stranger, face hidden in the glare. Was this rescue, or another trap? The mechanic hesitated only a heartbeat before shoving her toward the stranger's car. Sirens wailed behind them, Tommy's stolen envelope clutched in his hand as he vanished into the chaos. The mechanic's chest screamed for air, but his choice was clear: stay meant death, move meant hope. He pulled her in and slammed the door shut. The car shot forward, tires screaming against asphalt. Inside, the dim light revealed the driver, a woman in her 40s, sharp eyes that never left the road. Hold on, she muttered. Who are you? He demanded, his voice rough. Her gaze flicked to the CEO beside him, then back. Someone who's risked everything to keep her alive. And now, apparently, you too. The CEO's lips parted, but no words came. Instead, she reached for his arm, gripping tighter than ever. "Don't trust her completely," she whispered, barely audible. "She was once with them." His stomach twisted. Every turn of this night layered betrayal on betrayal. He pressed his back against the seat, torn between the driver's calm confidence and the woman's desperate warning. They cut through backstreets, leaving sirens fading behind. The driver finally spoke. "Tommy won't get far. What's in that envelope? It's not meant for him. It was meant for you." The mechanic's fists curled. "Then tell me what's inside." His voice broke through the hum of the engine, raw with exhaustion and rage. The driver's eyes caught his in the rearview mirror. "It's proof. Proof of who she really is. Proof of what she sacrificed to build those towers you look at every day." He turned to the CEO, searching her face for denial, explanation, anything. She didn't look away, but her silence was deafening. Finally she whispered, "If you read it, you'll never look at me the same way again." The mechanic's chest tightened, his mind tearing in two. Every fiber of him wanted the truth, yet something in her trembling hand on his arm begged him to wait. For the first time in his life, his choice wasn't about fixing broken things, it was about deciding whether to break something himself. The car screeched to a halt under a bridge, headlights cutting off. The driver leaned back, eyes cold. Decision time. Open it, or burn it. Either way, the next move defines everything. He reached into his jacket, fingers brushing the edge of the envelope still pressed against his ribs. His heart thundered, sweat dripping from his brow. He pulled it halfway out. Then the windshield exploded in a spray of glass. A bullet tore through the dashboard, inches from his hand. The windshield shattered into 1,000 shards, the scream of metal echoing under the bridge. The mechanic threw his arm across her, pulling her down as more bullets ripped through the car. The driver cursed, slamming the gear into reverse and spinning the wheel. Tires screeched, the car fishtailed, narrowly dodging another round of gunfire. "Get down!" The driver barked, her eyes fierce, unflinching. She cut the lights and sped into darkness, weaving through pillars with the instinct of someone who had run from death before. The mechanic's chest heaved, his body trembling. He clutched the envelope tight, as if it were the only thing tethering him to reality. He turned to the CEO, rage mixing with desperation. "Tell me now, what's in this? Why are they willing to kill everyone for it?" Her eyes glistened in the dim glow of the dashboard, tears she refused to let fall. "Because it's not just about me. It's about you." The words struck harder than the bullets. "Me?" he spat, stunned. She nodded, voice cracking. "You think you're just a mechanic. But they've been watching you longer than you realize. That envelope, it connects us both." Before he could respond, the driver slammed the brakes. The car lurched, throwing them forward. Ahead, a blockade of vehicles stretched across the road, black SUVs, their doors already opening, silhouettes spilling out. They were surrounded. The mechanic's pulse hammered in his ears. Trapped, outnumbered, exhausted. He felt the fight draining out of him, the bitter taste of defeat crawling up his throat. "It's over," he muttered. "No," she whispered sharply, her hand gripping his jaw, forcing him to look at her. "You don't understand. This was never about winning. It's about surviving long enough to choose who you want to be." The doors of the SUVs swung open, armed figures advancing. Tommy stepped into view, the stolen envelope in his hand. He smirked, battered but triumphant. "You see? I told you she lies." He was never part of her world. He was bait. A pawn. The mechanic's breath hitched. Bait? His vision swam. The woman flinched, her silence screaming louder than any denial. The driver glanced at him through the cracked mirror. "Now you know why you were dragged into this. The question is, what will you do with it?" He looked down at the envelope still clutched in his own hand, identical to the one Tommy waved. His mind spun. 2 envelopes. 2 truths. Or 2 traps. The figures closed in, rifles raised. Sirens wailed again in the distance, louder, nearer. The night pressed in, suffocating. And then the woman leaned to his ear, her voice breaking into a confession he wasn't ready for. If you open it now, you'll hate me forever. The air froze. The mechanic's fingers twitched on the flap. Every eye was on him. And just as he drew in a breath to decide, an explosion ripped through the night. The explosion ripped through the blockade, fire lighting up the night. The mechanic threw his body over her, shielding her from the blast as glass and metal rained down. For a moment, everything was chaos, screams, sirens, the roar of collapsing steel. When the dust cleared, the SUVs were wrecks, their men scattered. The driver pulled them to their feet, her face cut, but her voice steady. Now. Decide. Before they regroup. The mechanic's chest pounded, both envelopes clutched in his hands, his, and Tommy's. Tommy stumbled toward him, face bloodied, shouting, "Give me mine. That one's the truth, hers is a lie." The CEO's eyes locked on the mechanic. "No tears now, only fire. Open mine. Because everything I fought for, everything I lost, it was for this moment. For you." His hands shook. 2 envelopes, 2 worlds. He tore open Tommy's first. Papers spilled, false contracts, fabricated deals, designed to bury her reputation. Lies dressed as truth. He looked up, Tommy's smirk collapsed into fury. Then he opened hers. Inside, just one page, an old blueprint, smeared with oil. His own handwriting from years ago. The design he had drawn as a boy, dreaming of engines that saved fuel, dreaming of something better. He froze. "How do you have this?" She stepped closer, voice breaking but strong. "Because I built everything on your idea. I stole it when you abandoned it. Those towers, that empire, it all started with you. And now I'm giving it back." The world spun. Rage, betrayal, pride, disbelief, every emotion tore through him. "You used me," he whispered. "Yes," she said, lifting her chin. "And I won. But I never forgot who the real creator was. Now it's your choice, destroy me, or claim what's yours." Bullets cracked again in the distance. Tommy lunged, grabbing for the blueprint, screaming, "It belongs to no one. Burn it all." The mechanic's fist collided with his jaw, sending him sprawling into the wreckage. He stood over him, trembling but unbroken. "You tried to bury me once. Not again." He turned back to her, lifting the blueprint high. The flames of the burning cars lit the page like scripture. "This isn't yours anymore. It's not his. It's mine. And I'm done hiding." For the first time, she smiled, not as a CEO above him, but as someone who finally let go. "Then build it better than I ever did." Sirens closed in, lights painting the smoke-filled night. But for him, the noise faded. He had fought, fallen, risen. He had been used, betrayed, nearly broken. And yet he was still standing, with the blueprint of his own future in his hands. He looked at her one last time, then at the city skyline glowing beyond the smoke. The towers that once felt untouchable now looked like promises waiting to be rewritten. He stepped forward, voice steady, clear, defiant. "This is where my story begins.